Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to the special board meeting in Town of Monroe on Thursday, May 17, 2018. Your exits are two behind you, one up to your right or left out this way. If you can please silence all phones so that there's no distractions. I'll ask everyone to rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, has everyone that wants to had a chance to sign up for public comment? The only item on tonight's agenda is the acceleration of the palm tree agreement and nothing else. You want to read off the names, Mary Ellen?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's just Ed.
Good evening. Name's Ed Capalco. I'm a Village of Monroe resident. Questions about palm tree. Have any discussions been scheduled or been held with palm tree concerning financial arrangements concerning the separation of palm tree? What is the position of the town board concerning transfer or financial compensation to the new town of Palm Tree for any assets such as parks, movie theater, old court building, old town hall, senior center, owned by the town of Monroe that may be included in the separation agreement? Will Palm Tree be partially or wholly responsible for any current financial obligations of the town of Monroe? Will the current town board move to establish a ward system for the town to maintain political independence from any voting bloc? What will be the projected amount rise, not estimated dollar amount, of town taxes? The estimated percent rise. How much will the proposed purchase of the town hall increase the taxes because of the separation? Will the town's bond rating be decreased because of the separation? How does the board propose to keep the projected tax increases under control due to the loss of revenue? What water rights in the town of Monroe will be owned and controlled by the new town of Palm Tree? Are there any estimates for any increase in the percentage of properties that will become tax exempt, wholly or partially, in the town? What is the status of the homeowners that were left out of the Palm Tree separation agreement but are part of the annexation request? The above questions cannot currently be addressed or answered. Any letter asking to move the effective date of Palm Tree should not be passed or written. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
John Allegro.
John Allegro, Town of Monroe. I'd like to thank the board for considering the acceleration of Palm Tree, which is basically the acceleration of the division of, or the separation of Curious Joel, the village of Curious Joel, from the remainder of the town of Monroe. About a year ago, Mike Egan and I were very carefully negotiating terms that would enable us or satisfy United Monroe and Preserve Hudson Valley to withdraw lawsuits against the Curious Joel annexation. And at the same time, the Village of Curious Joel leadership had said, okay, we've had enough, let's just go our own separate ways. And we came down to a negotiated settlement where Curious Joel said they would leave us with only 56 acres more than the 164 acres that they were granted via annexation by the prior town administration. After that agreement was highly publicized, there were several press articles about it, which laid out all the points of the agreement. Volunteers from United Monroe, about 35 of us, went door to door and explained the issue to Monroe Town residents outside of Curious Joel. We collected over 1,000 signatures on letters to the Orange County Legislature asking that they allow the separation of KJ and Monroe to go to a referendum. We published and sent a newspaper to just about every home in the town of Monroe outside of Curious Joel. There were 2 public hearings conducted by the county, and there were 2 the town board held 2 informative sessions as well, which was optional, and it was a great thing to do to help the townspeople be fully informed when they went to the polls. The result, over 83% of the people townwide voted yes in favor of the separation, and 75% of the voters in the town outside of Curious Joel voted yes in favor of the separation. Anybody running for office would love a landslide like that. And they weren't only just voting to separate KJ from Monroe, they were voting for the terms of the agreement. Mr. McGinn, you said during the last meeting, one of the questions was asked about the separation of the division of the assets and liabilities, that cannot be done until after Curious Joel or Palm Tree becomes a town. So we can't do that now. We can't do that ahead of time. And I'm very confident that the town is going to negotiate a very fair settlement with KJ. And in addition, I'm confident that you'll negotiate very fair IMAs and other types of agreements with the new municipality, money in exchange for services to help recoup some of the losses. In addition, the moratorium has been lifted, so more homes will be built. We'll get more tax revenue. I noticed that the project on Route 208, the commercial project, is under construction now. That'll be more tax revenue from a commercial rateable. So I'm confident that the impact will be minimized by this new administration. The other 2 things that happened, which are very important, and why we asked for the acceleration, that KJ work on the acceleration, they do everything they possibly could, was that if we get this done, Palm Tree, KJ will not be in our elections in 2019, and they will be their own town January 1st, 2020, a full year ahead of time. And also with the agreement between the school districts to alter their boundaries, those changes would occur, I believe, the end of June. So if we get this done now, and it goes to the state legislature and goes through, we'll have the mutual freedom of the Monroe, Woodbury, and Curious Joel school districts from each other in June of 2019 instead of a full year after June of 2020. So all in all, I think it's a great proposition. I think it works out best for everybody. There'll be no more fighting, or the possibility for fighting will be greatly reduced. And I'm asking you to all vote yes on acceleration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is all who have signed up.
Anybody else? No?
Nobody else wants to come up and speak? Okay.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss this somewhat.
Second? All right.
So who seconded?
Sal, second.
Sal seconded it. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay.
Is it hot in here or is it the...
It's a little hot.
Okay. I make a motion to come out of executive session and into our regular session.
I'll second it.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay. Okay, I will make a motion to accelerate to pass a motion to accelerate the formation of Palm Tree and by supporting a home rule request for the town of Palm, to expedite the effective date for the town of Palm Tree.
Actually, since I think, and Mr. Newsy could probably opine on it, since you would be the one we'd be authorizing to execute the agreement, I think probably one of us should make that motion.
Council?
It doesn't make a difference, and you're ultimately going to vote on it anyway, so there's no restriction on the supervisor introducing the resolution, but it is a resolution to authorize the supervisor to execute the home rule request.
All right, well, do you want me to make it? You can second it for discussion.
You can make it, go ahead.
All right, I'll make a motion that we authorize the supervisor to sign, to execute the home rule request for the early separate or accelerated separation.
So I want to second it for discussion?
I'll second it.
For discussion,
Yes.
okay. I guess, want to start, Mary?
Okay, I have a lot of questions. I understand there's only been very minimal discussions with Curious Joel regarding the financial division of assets and liabilities and those expenses, everything, what can be done. So I do have a lot of reservations. I also have reservations with the school district. They were supposed to possibly, Assemblyman Skoufis and Senator Larkin have bills proposed that would give our Monroe Woodbury School District some more money. As far as I know, those bills have not passed, so I do have a concern with the school districts not being financially compensated. So I have some reservations, and I think there are still some unanswered questions. I do understand some of the negotiations cannot take place until Palm Tree is officially formed. But that being said, I still have reservations and I have concerns.
Councilman Cologne?
The discussion of having a town of Palm Tree has gone on for some time. Yes, there are some reservations, but as far as the school district is concerned, the town of Palm Tree would be taking over the responsibility for all of the special needs and transportation of their students, which would be a substantial amount, I believe, for the school district. But this town board really cannot speak on behalf of the school district because those are separate elected officials and have their own budget and had their own negotiation. But I understand that there may be some hesitancy, but we have absolutely no input on that aspect. As far as negotiation for other issues, we can negotiate, but all of that factor changes once they become the town of Palm Tree. So anything that is pre-negotiated before the formation of that town is automatically, again, pushed to the side at any time. The acceleration at this point, reason to vote for it, or at least to consider it, is because both sides, the town of Monroe and the village of KJ, soon to be Palm Tree, has overwhelmingly voted in favor of having it. So although there will always be a voice of contention about holding off for another few days, I just don't see holding off for another 2 or 3 days is going to make much of a difference in that.
Councilman Scangarello?
I'm really new here, and I was out there with all those United Monroe people that for years sacrificed a lot of their time and effort to get where we are today. So as a board and as me, I am for acceleration tonight. I think it's important that we get this done and move forward and get our town back 100%. Thank you.
Councilman McGinn?
Okay, there were a lot of questions raised, Ed, and when you're up here at the mic, and some of those questions can be answered and some of them can't. and I know it's been touched on already. The financial obligations, assets, and liabilities are something that can be equally divided amongst the two towns if it came down to that. So whatever our assets are, they'd also take our liabilities. Regarding the town hall and what the increase in the bond is, I think we'll have a better idea of that on Monday. I think is that on the agenda there, Mr. Supervisor?
Yes,
Right.
yes, it is.
And we'll add some costs to there will be a tax increase to cover that bond. It's just a fact of it, but it's something that has to be done, and it's there. We can't negotiate actual terms until the new town is formed. So we can do that this January, or we can do it next January. But either way, it's not going to change it. It's going to have to be done once the new town is formed. There's been positive signs that from the existing village, which can't negotiate with us at this point, that they would be looking to enter into IMAs that to provide services that we currently provide. So I wouldn't expect that to change, because a lot of those services are things that only the town could provide, and not the private sector. The additional aid for the school district, I see that was a political promise that really doesn't have an effect on what this board does or doesn't do. And of course, I hope it goes through. I'm a taxpayer, had 4 kids go through the district. We'd like to see that money go to the district, but again, that's a political promise. Whether that happens in this session, again, is whether it happens in this session or the next session, that's going to really be up to those up in Albany that made those promises, and not the 5 of us sitting here on this board. Lastly, this referendum, before the referendum was held, there was countless public hearings. People got up. There's a lot of good arguments. There was, some negative stuff out there, but for the most part, every angle of this has been discussed. And the referendum was held. The people spoke, and they wanted this to go forward. So basically, the matter is whether we do it now or we do it a year from now. The people spoke. Let's do it now. Let's move on, and let's start the negotiations and finalize this separation and move forward.
Okay. You all have pretty much covered my thoughts. The only thing I did want to add was that we did have 2 meetings to discuss the financial aspects of the separation. Those were well attended, and a lot of what the questions that have been asked tonight were addressed at that point. I wish we could start negotiations. We have had discussions, nothing real concrete, but I think it's in the best interest of our town to move this forward and expedite it. As far as the school board goes, like it has been said tonight, we don't have a say in that, and both the Senate bill and the Assembly bill were basically the points of getting that done. It had nothing to do with us. I don't think there's much leverage for us in that respect. The school essentially, handles its own business. I have had some brief discussions with some school board members, and they're in agreement somewhat that whatever we do has no bearing on what will happen with them going forward. So I personally am in favor of accelerating this and getting it off the table and moving forward. Any other comments? Okay, so let's call the question.
Bingham, nay.
Cologne, yay.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved. So I would like to read the resolution real quick. A meeting of the Town Board of Town of Monroe, New York was convened on May 18th, 2018 at 7 o'clock. The following resolution was duly offered and seconded to wit. Resolution of the Town Board of the Town of Monroe supporting home rule request to expedite effective date for the town of Palm Tree. Whereas Village of Kairos Joel previously filed a petition with the Orange County Legislature to divide the town of Monroe for the purposes of forming the town of Palm Tree. And whereas on September 7, 2017, the Orange County Legislature issued a report and findings, among other things, approving the formation of the town of Palm Tree. And whereas on November 7, 2017, the electors of the town of Monroe voted in favor of the proposition to divide the town of Monroe and to form the town of Palm Tree at its biannual election. And whereas pursuant to Town Law 74 and 80, the earliest that the formation of the town of Palm Tree can become effective is January 1, 2020, unless home rule requests are submitted to the New York State Legislature. And whereas by resolution dated April 13th, 2018, the Village of Kairos Joel supports and encourages the town board to submit a home rule request to the New York State Legislature to accelerate the date for the election of town offices for the town of Palm Tree to November 6, 2018. And whereas bills have been introduced by in the New York State Senate, S7861, and New York State Assembly, A9969, to apply to any new town created by the qualified electors at a biennial town election held on November 7th, 2017. And whereas the town board hereby finds it in the best interest of the residents of the town of Monroe to submit a home rule request to the New York State Legislature to accelerate the establishment of the town of Palm Tree. Now therefore it is resolved by the town board as follows. Section 1, all whereas paragraphs are incorporated herein by reference as those set forth in full herein. Section 2, the town board authorizes the supervisor to execute any and all documents necessary to submit a home rule request to support the acceleration of the establishment of the town of Palm Tree. Section 3, the town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor to direct any official or employee to implement this resolution or take any necessary actions to implement this resolution. Section 4, the resolution shall take effect immediately. And the question of the adoption of the foregoing resolution was duly put to a vote on a roll call, which you have just heard the results. So therefore the resolution was thereupon duly adopted. Anything else, council?
No, Supervisor, that's it, unless you have other business.
No. Nope. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Second by Cologne.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.